You guys know what time it is. It's time for Watch News Weekly. And today we got some cool, exciting news, some cool models and the usual stuff. Before I start, obviously, I decided to wear the brick, the pounder, as they like to call it. 373 grams in total. I think if fully linked, it gets up to about 400 grams, maybe closer to that pound mark, which is what, 464 grams or 56, whatever it is. Long story short, we're going to start with my favorite brand of today's 3 new offshores that I added to the 24 lineup from Audemars Piguet. 43 millimeter stainless, that's set with a black ceramic pushers and crown for the first time. The steel case is surrounded by a smoked bronze dial with a mega tapisserie pattern with black accents as expected from Audemars Piguet. It's going to be another safari. Audemars Piguet dates back their safari to post the plain Jane offshores, right? So when we started with the brick, so the original beast, as I like to call it, right? You had the tapisserie dial there, but it was a smaller tapisserie dial. And then they moved over to the larger dial, as you see here. And so you had your themes, as they called it, which was a white dial. If we're talking strictly strap pieces, the first were the theme dials, which was the black and the white dial. They also did the rubber clads, black, white dial, as well as a rose gold version with a, a black dial. And then they moved on to quote unquote what we like to call nickname pieces, right? The orange one, which was the Volcano, the navy one, which was the blue one, and also the brown one, which was the Safari. And I'm going to call this one the latest edition of Safari. Again, we're looking at a picture that's most likely very enhanced and rendered. Love to see this watch in person. By the looks of the picture, that is probably the most beautiful dial that AP came up with, because this is a fume dial. You notice it turns from black to brown, and the black sub dials in this watch work extremely, extremely well. Would love to also see this come with a brown strap. Of course, joining the chronograph is the 43 millimeter time date model with a blue rubber coated bezel. This surrounds a smoke blue dial, again, same pattern, the mega tapisserie, i.e. the bigger tapisserie pattern, with the white gold markers and hands. What I'm gonna say to this is finally, right? Because if you look at offshores, historically, offshores have been what? They have all been chronographs, with the exception of the diver models, right? So the diver model was sort of that entry or that trial, as I've always said, into a non-chronograph offshore to see how well they do, and it did do well. Now, finally, they made an offshore automatic. This is the first offshore automatic that is out there, outside of, obviously, the diver versions of it. And I think they did a tremendous job. I think this thing sells like absolute hotcakes. You get a bigger size, you still get that 43 millimeter, and I am extremely excited about this watch. This thing is going to sell like hotcakes. First of all, that blue. Second of all, bringing back the rubber clad, right, which is amazing. The dial, the fume dial, again, sort of going from black to blue. The mega tapisserie is amazing. Can you tell I'm excited about this watch? I'm super excited about this watch because it took offshore long enough. The first offshore was debuted in 1982 to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Royal Oak, if you guys remember. And since then, we have yet to see just a plain Jane offshore. Seen plenty of plain Jane Royal Oaks, but never a plain Jane offshore. To call this one plain Jane would be a bit of an understatement. I think they came out of the gate swinging. Again, going back to the blue rubber clad bezel. Yeah, home run on this one, AP, 100%. And last but not least, you have the 37 millimeter time date Royal Oak Offshore with an 18 karat pink gold case, gray rubber coated gold bezel, and an ivory polished dial with, again, the grand tapisserie pattern and a pink gold markers and hands. Is this a ladies' watch? I would assume so. Again, I mentioned you guys before, Audemars Piguet is not just my favorite brand, it's also my wife's favorite brand. So she has a collection of quite a few of the 37 millimeter ladies Royal Oak Offshores. Those come in a chronograph, like the limited Alinghi or the Carbon, et cetera, et cetera. Now they did the same thing for the ladies version, with the exception that nowadays, bigger is not better. So this potentially is a unisex watch, maybe even a men's watch. Does have a very feminine look, but again, I love everything about this as much as I love about the blue automatic offshore. The markers or the dial, I wish they sort of did that same fume with this as they did with the others, but still nevertheless works. Guys, of course, take this with a grain of salt. This happens to be my favorite brand, so as far as I'm concerned, all 3 of these releases are an absolute home run. Next topic of news, Omega, once again, new titanium Seamaster Aqua Terra, 150 meters ultra light. If you guys are following the Olympics, the Swedish pole vaulter, Armand, Mondo, Duplantis, he set a new world record. and won an Olympic gold medal. Now, watch fans worldwide may have noticed he was wearing a watch while doing so. And the watch on Mondo's wrist was the new special edition Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra, 150 meters in titanium. Now, Mondo, having already secured gold, had the bar set 15 centimeters higher for 3 attempts at breaking the standing world record, which he said earlier this year. Now, after 2 failed attempts, the pressure was on, and at that point, no other event was taking place in the stadium. All 80,000 spectators were literally looking at him. And among them was actually Noah Lyle, who had just received his gold medal for the men's 100-meter spring, which he won with a Speedmaster Dark Side of the Moon, which was the Apollo 8, I believe, that was on his wrist. I'm sure you guys already know, those that watched, that Mondo's attempt was successful and sporting history was made once again, as it happens pretty much every year. Now, the 80 Ultra Light was first released in 2019 in 3 colorways, and Omega described it as the ultimate athlete's watch. And it featured a blasted gamma titanium case. I think it was 41 millimeters, something like that, and it only weighed 55 grams. Now, this particular alloy, often used in aerospace industry, is lighter and stronger than any standard grades of titanium. Now, Mondo's watch is a special edition of the standard Ultra Light, as they dubbed it. The watch proudly wears the blue and gold colors of Sweden. If anybody who is Swedish out there not buying this watch, I'll be shocked. Until there's another shocking factor, and we'll get to that later. Now, this has blue dial, blue end links, and a bright yellow textile strap. The same bolting pole seconds hands we know from Duplantis Special Edition Aqua Terra 150, released earlier this year, also makes a comeback. Now, this one has a retail price tag of 56,900 euros. This may come as a surprise to those that, I'm familiar with the model and its price, but what's more surprising is it's actually $2,300 less than the standard model, which I don't understand that concept. Tough sell at that price range, and this is the other shocking part of it. Beautiful watch, extremely well made. I do understand what it takes to make a watch that is that light. Making it an ultra thin watch, an ultra light watch, an ultra anything watch that's extreme in terms of its weight, in terms of its accuracy, if you will, if you want to talk horology, in terms of its thickness or thinness or lack thereof, is an extremely, extremely difficult feat. I don't know what's more difficult, creating that watch or selling that watch at that price tag. Time will show. There are plenty of fans out there that don't mind spending big money on Omega, but for the most part, Omega buyers tend to stick around a price range that's under $20,000, let's say, probably even less. Nevertheless, hell of a watch. Congratulations to Mondo on setting a new world record. That sport scares me. I don't know if I will. You guys understand, he literally launched himself to the 2nd story of a building. Like, this guy could take his pole and jump over the LB headquarters. We're a 2-story building. Like, he can literally land on our roof and just like, hi. But anyway, great watch, great release. Congratulations to Mondo again. And we're going to continue with Omega, because if you're Daniel Craig and you wear something, you get plastered all over the internet immediately. So Daniel Craig, he wore an unreleased Omega to the Olympics. Now, last November, Craig debuted in the Omega Speedmaster with a white dial that wasn't released until earlier this year. Now it appears the actor and the brand are bringing that rollout strategy back at the Olympics. They do this purposely, I feel like. They sort of tease you, because Daniel Craig will get attention because he's Daniel Craig. He also is James Bond, and Omega is James Bond. One of the reasons I love Omega is because of James Bond, because I happen to love James Bond. The not yet announced watch, or the secret watch, if whatever you want to dub it, appears to be a Seamaster Diver 300. It features a simple black dial and a matching bezel with a grayish white accents. The wave pattern on many Seamaster 300 model is gone here in favor of a matte style. Now, we've seen undecorated dials like this on the previous 007 editions of the Seamaster. The match bracelet on Craig's new watch also mirrors the one featured in the most recent Bond movie, No Time to Die. Like, I don't even know how somebody noticed that this is actually a new model. Like, you know what I mean? But hey, lots of watch guys out there, lots of Omega fans out there, lots of Daniel Craig fans out there. And I think it's something that's more or less been expected. I don't know who's credited for first taking this picture, to be honest with you, and whoever you are, credit to you. There's guys out there that are closely watching celebrities that have associations with brands. And obviously, when it comes to Omega, Olympics, Daniel Craig, James Bond, I'm not surprised that somebody caught this right away, or a multitude of people caught this right away. I wonder what the lady next to him is wearing. Can we zoom in on that? I'm going to call that a Blanc Pon. Let's go to the next piece of news. Oh, speaking of which, Blanc Pon, new 18 karat red gold 50 fathom models, okay? So the 50 fathom model was introduced in 1953 is celebrated as one of the most iconic watches in horological history. Again, pioneering design, it was one of the first to feature a rotating bezel, had a water resistance of 300 meters and an anti-magnetic movement. And of course, Blanc Pon continues making 50 fathom history by introducing the watch you see here, the Quantime chronograph flyback model, both handcrafted from 18 karat gold. The Bathyscape Quantime chronograph flyback dials are decorated with a stunning blue gradient now, enhanced with a sunburst finish that adds basically depth and luminosity, if you will. The contrast between the blue dial and the radiant red gold case and the bracelet highlights the exceptional craftsmanship and design that Blanc Pon is renowned for. Retail price $55,300. I'm gonna say it now, I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again, you're not showing me anything new. We've seen this before. Get off the 50 fathom train. It's been 72 years. Give me something new, Blanc Pon Swatch Group. You're killing the brand. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Is it a beautiful watch? Yes. Is it well made? Absolutely. Is it iconic? Yes. But give us something fresh. Give me a new model. Okay? Just give me a new model. You can continue the 50 fathoms traditions. I'm perfectly fine with that. A calendar and a chronograph, more of what we've seen in the past, dress differently. You're not Rolex. You cannot continue doing what Rolex has been doing for years, making small changes and making the same thing over and over and be successful at it. More is expected of a brand like Blanc Pon, a brand that has very long running history, a brand I'm just upset about this. And Blanc Pon Swatch Group, if you're listening, call me. Let's design something together because this has just gotten to a point where I don't think anybody's going to pay attention to this. In fact, people watching this video probably is going to skip over this part and go to the next piece of news, which is Rolex has granted another patent for ultra-smooth curved ceramic axles. Rolex operates a lot of scientific laboratories. They're consistently granted more patents than any one of their competitors. Also, Rolex is also known for going after a lot of people for just about anything. Like, we used to use the terminology certified pre-owned. And we use that terminology for watches that we certified, that were pre-owned, which means they went through a process of making sure that they're properly working, tested, et cetera, fixed if need be, serviced. And then we called them certified pre-owned. There was literally a section on our website that used to say brand new and then certified pre-owned. And they sent us a letter saying, please do not use the word certified pre-owned when it comes to our product. I wasn't gonna fight with Rolex, nor did I feel like it was that big a deal. So I just simply removed the word certified pre-owned, and lo and behold, to my surprise, we now have the Rolex Certified Pre-Owned program. I should have patented that or something. But anyway, Rolex would have won anyway. They do a huge amount of R&D to advance basically ceramic manufacture. Today, they were granted a US patent regarding just that. The patent is for two-step process involving both femtosecond lasers and tribo finishing to make an incredibly smooth RA value under 20 nm rounded ceramic clock arbor or watch axle, if you will. A femtosecond laser is an extremely precise grade of laser that applies quadrillions of a second blast of energy. Now, quadrillions of a second. How fast is that? Anyone?
It's fast.
Probably faster than I'm going to get through this topic, I would imagine. Rolex has already been using them to make laser edge dials for years now. The point of the patent is likely simply to reduce friction. Less friction means a more efficient watch movement. So this could theoretically lead to longer service intervals, meaning watches are more durable. It's been a thing with a lot of brands now, but I'm going to give credit to Urbic on that for the most part. They've done a ton of innovation in terms of ensuring that their watches run much longer and smoother over longer periods of time. Now, higher power reserve is also would be a side product of that, or higher amplitudes. Now, the RA value of 20 nm for a watch component is truly impressive. When you get down to about 0.5 nm, you're talking about manufacturing advanced modern semiconductor level of precision, which is huge. I don't know what this picture is going to tell you. Certainly doesn't tell me anything, but hopefully you got the idea. But I mean, that gets the point of this topic is that, look, we're going into an era where technology is moving at such a pace. If you can get watches down to almost the precision level of semiconductors, you're potentially talking watches that are going to continue ticking and doing their thing for years upon years upon years, which is kind of like a downside to a manufacturer of watches. And now they're making products that will be virtually indestructible for double the time that it usually requires a service. Bit of a catch-22, if you will, but I'm super impressed by this because, again, it's modern technology applied in the world of old innovation that works together in a way we probably couldn't have imagined even as little as 10 years ago. So that's a little bit of news for you this week of what's happening in the watch world. I'm sure I didn't cover everything, but I try to make these fast, precise, and I try to pick topics that I deem more or less interesting based on what I think. I will ask you this, send me DMs. If you see a piece of news that's worthy of covering, I'm always quick to give an opinion on a couple of topics. And as I say, take it with a grain of salt because it's just my opinion. So feel free to DM me on my Instagram at Roman Sharf, any and all news topics that happen throughout the week. So remember, I do this throughout the week and I report at the end of the week. So it's relevant to the week that I do the episode. Other than that, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.